Now, basketball is considered one of the fastest growing sport in the world, and certainly in Africa, it has become somewhat of a big sport in West Africa mostly, but here in the southern tip of Africa, we are still trying to find our stride in as far as the sport itself. And currently at the moment, we have the Basketball National League underway here in South Africa, having started on the 15th, and we'll be concluding this weekend. And I'm joined by the General Manager at BNL, that's Mr. Dali Dzingwa, who is with me here in studio. Good morning.
Morning, Benji. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for your time, considering that you got home today.
Yes,
because you've been so hectic with the games that are currently underway. I spoke to you last night and you told me you're still at the games. How's that been going?
Look, it has been a very exciting year for us. We celebrate our 10th edition of the league this year. Whilst we're celebrating that, unfortunately, we also lost one of the directors, Jose Kebi Cabanelas, of which it has made life a little bit difficult for us, because this year should be the year that we're saying we've done it, for 10 years. But coming back to the games, it has been exciting. We had 9 days, if not 7 days now, of active basketball. Teams have shown a lot of growth, of which as a league we are happy, because this is the commitment that we made on our when we started the league in 2013, that we will assist Basketball SA to develop the sport. We will not only give players the opportunity to play basketball at the highest competitive space, but we will also assist in developing the sport. So we're quite happy that we've achieved that.
Who's doing well at the games at the moment?
Look, some games...
I'm from the Free State, by the way.
Yes, yesterday I watched the Free State Warriors.
Yeah.
They were playing against Mpumalanga Rhinos. It was very close, contested game, which only got decided in the last 15 seconds of the game. Yeah. And unfortunately for you, is that Warriors lost by 4 points. But it has been an amazing improvement from all teams, including the Eastern Cape, the Northern Cape Zebras. So everybody has shown that they want to participate, they want to grow, and the games this year are very closely contested, and we saw also Mpumalanga for the first time beating favorites Soweto Panthers. So there has been that 10 of events in terms of the growth of the sport.
I mentioned in my intro that in Southern Africa we are still trying to find our way in as far as basketball and see if we like it, quite frankly. And perhaps you could argue that that's the previous sentiment in the country and some parts of the continent. Is that still the same? Do you find it difficult to get fans excited about basketball in the country?
Let me tell you this, Benji. Basketball is the most exciting sport. You would go to school, you will find a large number of learners participating in basketball. Same as what you call senior players. The excitement is there because basketball is not about only playing, it's about the culture, how individuals express themselves, how they want to be perceived, to be successful. Basketball is associated with achievement, excellence. And most of the athletes that we have, they go out to find themselves, go to university and establish themselves, because that's the culture that we all grew up in. So the excitement in terms of the sport, as well as the growth of the sport, it's enormous in South Africa. The participation level is very high.
But since there's clearly a market then, Mr. Dzingwa, how do we leverage this? How do we make sure that we keep the excitement levels at their highest? What happens the rest of the year? Because there's the league taking place in such a short space of time, and then we're concluding this weekend. From November, December, we're going to be watching the Football World Cup in just a couple of weeks, and we'll forget about basketball. What happens then, the rest of the year, to make sure that people still have that excitement about the game?
Look, there's two ways that we can look at it. One is that the Basketball National League, it's usually a 4-month program. But because of the resolutions and decisions taken by Basketball SA in its last AGM, we had to shift our program. Our program usually starts from August to November or December. But because of the FIBA calendar, FIBA Africa calendar, we had to adjust. Now we will be starting in February and finishing in July. That's one element. The second element is the issue of resources. For the sport to grow, it will need resources, which means then you will have more games. The pattern or the format that we are currently using, it's not ideal, but it is acceptable in basketball language. But the situation, as you've said, we go into the World Cup. You know, in all the leagues in the world, you've got a home and an away game. That brings the sport to the people, one, but also it increases the number of games that are played by athletes in each year. So for us to get better, we will need to give our athletes an opportunity to play regularly at a high competitive level.
The NBA, which incidentally has also just started, I think the first few games played this week, has on several occasions been to South Africa. I remember the NBA Africa game usually taking place at the Dome, not too far from here. Has that helped at all in trying to grow the game in South Africa?
Definitely it has. The NBA being here in South Africa assists to increase the level of interest in the sport. We would not obviously compare ourselves with the NBA, but their presence here also makes us feel that we've got something to look for in terms of how they run their affairs and how they do things. But they have been helpful, and we have been working with them through these projects and through Basketball SA as well.
Are we looking at more partnerships with them to make sure that our players get to at least as close as they can to the level of those in not even arguably the best basketball league in the world?
Yes, definitely. We have to give our athletes, as administrators, we have to give our athletes that opportunity. And it is in our objectives, as well as the Basketball South Africa objectives, that we must have close association with the elite leagues around the world, so that we can create the opportunity to exchange, if I can put it that way, and also giving our players exposure to play somewhere else. So definitely there is an ongoing engagement with the NBA and also other leagues around the world.
Mr. Dzingwa, basketball is an Olympic sport, I believe. How far are we from South Africa having or a team from South Africa representing the country there? Are we still a long way off from that level?
To be honest, yes. The reason being it's our structure and also the way we have been doing things. We are not giving our athletes enough opportunity to play the sport. I'll make example. In Angola, it has been dominant for the last 12 years, 13 years. You'll find that there's only 8 professional clubs, but they play regularly. Each team plays about 60 to 70 games a season. In South Africa, unfortunately, because of financial constraints and resources, we are unable to even make half of that. So it becomes more difficult because players are, as you've mentioned before, they play, they stop, they play, they stop. So we have to continue to fight to get a program that will run over a period of 8 to 9 months in order for us to compete with the best. Which is normally the amount of time for a season of other big sport in the country. Mr. Dzingwa, unfortunately we have to leave it here for today. Good luck for this final weekend of the league coming up in the Basketball National League, and we are hoping that South Africa will at some point, maybe not 2024 in Paris, maybe not Los Angeles in the next Olympics after that, but certainly in the future we will have a team representing the country in terms of basketball.